Say, white God bless you, Robert. I came as fast as I could.
So this is the plan, Uncle Ruckus.
Let's get this party started.
Who in the hell are you?
Nigga, my name is Reverend Father Uncle Ruckus. No relation. In the name of white Jesus and all great white men who have come thereafter, I command our black nigga soul back to the depths of hell.
Is that all you got, nigga?
Oh, no, nigga. That's just the tip of this iceberg. Read, nigga, read!
Oh my god.
They're farting on us. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I decided I was going to record my bit on the manifesto that I've recently made, since I know most of you aren't going to read it by yourself, because why would you? So I'm essentially going to be reading the one and only script I've ever made for you guys, and see if you guys can agree with some of my takes on how the game could be improved. Since I didn't put my little formal disclaimer at the beginning because I thought I would ruin the flow of the whole vid, this is not a YBA channel. Do not subscribe if you want YBA. I'm only going to be doing this for a short time and then it's back to normal shit. I'm also not going to put any YBA footage in this video because I did not spend like an hour doing this fucking level just to not use it at all, so here it is. This should go without saying, but this entire thing is my opinion, and although it may voice some of the opinions that the community has also voiced, it is still my opinion and should still be taken that way. Without further ado, this is where the script comes into play. If you want to read it for yourself, the link will be in the description. Otherwise, enjoy the video.
At least I've seen what a vagina looks like, Ricky, and experienced its gentle caress.
So let's start off with the prelude because it's the entire precursor to the thing and it gives insight on why I made it and the things I'm going to be talking about in the document itself. Now, YBA has been on a consistent downward spiral since mid-2022, reworking and changing several core aspects of the game and making it nigh unrecognizable with several balancing issues, disgusting aesthetic changes, and a big, clunky, uncomfortable map. Obviously, this game is headed down a dead end, with that end being a stark, infinite black hole of depravity. YBA is bleeding its biggest creators, losing relevance and subsequent player base, all because of Uzuki's incompetence as a game designer and communicator. However, it's not too late to get back on track and bring YBA back to the throne it was meant to sit on as of July 2023, and you'll find the answers to be simpler than you think. This document will serve as an article of reference and theorization as to how YBA could be fixed and my reasoning behind said solutions. Is this document completely pointless? Yes! Is Uzuki never going to see this? Yes! Am I really that bored to make this? Also yes! As always, this is my opinion. This document is not meant to be stated as objective fact, and only to serve as fun speculation, since none of this will be implemented anyway. If you disagree with me, that's completely okay. I would love to have further discussions on this topic with others, and all opinions are welcome. So without further ado, let's begin with the in-game changes.
August 12th.
Now, I think the main solution to solving the in-game problems is very simple. So simple that it'll probably sound stupid. Let's revert everything cold turkey. Let's go back to June 1st of 2022. I think most people would agree with me that this is where it fully fell from grace. Now, when I say revert everything, I mean revert to the core aspects, not the broken shit. Believe me when I say that absolutely nobody means that when they say this. First, the new map is awful. Enough said. Too big, too many locales, no substance, absolutely terrible change. The map prior was iconic, not too big, not too small, simple to navigate and learn, and the map just felt cozy. While it was too small to ward off monotony, I don't think it needed to be replaced fully, so let's go back to it. It doesn't have to be the exact one. Small changes like new sections and bosses / quest NPCs, vendors, etc. would be a very welcome and fitting change. Absolutely no issues with that. Now, the issue I have with the new map is that it's too big and there's absolutely no substance to it. Everything looks the exact same. I probably should have added it to this, but I just thought of it right now, so I thought I'd mention it. Second, the stands and specs. Fuck the reworks. Seriously, they are the worst things to happen in the game. They're good ideas on paper, but Uzu's way of implementing them is completely flawed. The same way that communism is a good idea on paper, but China is the greatest nation on earth, glory to the CCP, nothing happened in Tiananmen Square yet. While some stands definitely do need reworks, White Album for example, this does not mean completely change the meta with it and make it the most broken stand / spec in the game. Everything is affected by this. The entire competitive scene, the game's economy, everything. The balancing of the stand spec should not be overshadowed by the fact that Snail Eel and Ancient Fruits are good modelers. Don't base an entire update around reworking one stand spec. If you're going to work for months, then make it worth the wait. Infrequent updates kill your game, and that's just a fact. Honestly, releasing a few balance changes through smaller updates is a much more practical and effective system and gives you an opportunity to really make the bigger updates shine through. Hell, half of the Scary Monsters rework was just shitty nerfs. You could have at least disappointed us with those through a smaller update. And nobody cares about new 1v1 maps or skins. That's just how it is. Aesthetics should be secondary when it comes to updates, not the primary poster child. Speaking of aesthetics, let's also revert all of the new models. They are genuinely ugly as shit. For comparison, let's put up two different stands and compare their current models to their older ones. First, Star Platinum. This was the model for Star Platinum sometime around mid to late 2021. Look at how clean he is. Such a beautiful boy. His abs and pectoral muscles are perfectly defined through modeling, is overall smooth and shiny, and is just pleasing to look at in general. The colors are deep, delicate, and reserved. Absolutely nothing wrong with this design. And this is the new model for Star Platinum as of March of 2023. Look at what they did to my boy. The dirty, unnatural manga hatching combined with the natural lighting is uncanny and out of place. For some reason, his clearly defined muscles have been swapped out with a Sharpie tattoo of a six-pack, and his smooth build is amalgamated with strange textures and lining. The colors are very vivid and flamboyant and somewhat irritating to look at. This always comes down to personal preference at the end of the day, but I personally think this is a complete downgrade. Now let's take a look at the world next. This was the model for the world in April of 2021. While its predecessor was too shiny and was lacking in its helmet's size, this is its successor, and while not flawless, is very close. Once again, very good modeling with the muscles and armor, and the shine is on point. The colors remain reserved, just the way it should be. However, the red on the eyes could be dulled just a bit, and the jade texture on the hearts is a little strange, but nothing too off-putting about it. 8 out of 10 model could be perfect with a few tweaks. This is the current model for the world as of March of 2023. Once again, the strange manga hatching combined with the natural lighting is distracting and hideous. The textures this time are even worse, look stretched and unnatural. His complexion is that of a banana's, and the hearts are just way too big. I'm not sure if he just got knee surgery or was tortured through his kneecaps being shattered by a crowbar, but he genuinely looks unfit for combat. Seriously, what the fuck were they even thinking with this? Even if this was the most OP, broken, unbeatable stand in the entire game, I still wouldn't use it because he's just such an ugly bastard. I'm sure you get the idea by now. While some remodels were definitely improvements such as creams, silver chariots, hierophants, etc., I think I can say that for the most of the remodeled stands, it is a noticeable downgrade to appeal to the manga aesthetic that Uzu is pushing for. Now, let's be real for a moment here. Manga design should stay within manga and not adhere to blocky Roblox games. It just looks hideous in-game and it doesn't fit. The key reason why the old models were better than these newer ones is because of the subtlety and simplicity they showcase through their colors and modeling. Now look, I respect ambition and taking risks, but there is simply just no payoff to this. If your goal was money, I can promise you that nobody is paying to see this. These models had charm, but now have been reduced to annoyingly vibrant, dirty creatures. At the end of the day, this just leads up to preference, but I think it makes the game look cleaner and more appealing. So while this quote-unquote issue matters very little, I still think it'd be nice. Now let's talk about skins. I'll make this quick since skins have no bearing on the game as a whole, or at least that was the case a year or two ago. See, the initial release of skins was effective because there was no skin training, so if you wanted to get a skin you had to grind for it yourself and there was no huge market. This left Uzu with the perfect opportunity to keep skins in the background while placing balance and competitiveness in focus. I mean, it is a fighting game after all, right? But money is an alluring temptress. Christmas 2021 comes around and skin trading is added. Big fucking whoop, who cares? Well, this brought in a lot of revenue for Uzu, leading him to focus on skins and placing the balance and mechanics of the game on hold in place of earning more money. He attempted to dissuade others of his obsession with this very obvious mentality through the soft and wet update, saying he would focus more on balancing and fixing the game's mechanics. He still has yet to do that. So yes, while less skins are released with updates, the aesthetics and flair that share a common place with skins are still very present with remodels, reworks, and just everything in general. It takes priority over balancing mechanics, which we've already discussed. So let's revert the skin trading system too. Skins are good at retaining the player base and giving them something to grind for if there aren't any new stands, and have proven to be effective in more games than just in YBA. I mean, take Pokemon for example. So yes, skins are here to stay, and honestly it could be optional, but with the way ᴂᴜ operates, he's not capable of keeping his hands off the stripper. We'll keep the GUI the same. The sound design can stay the same for all I care as long as it's not made by the Russian pedophile. Everything else recently implemented has virtually no hold over the game. I obviously don't think that the game shouldn't change at all, because that's just lame. Change is key for growth and development and can make a good game great. However, too much change is detrimental to a game and can kill the hype and player base over it. Take, for example, the new Coke controversy that occurred sometime around the 80s. Keep in mind, this is in regards to heavy change. Bits of change are exciting, and are most definitely beneficial. When you take a product and fundamentally redefine its appeal and appearance, consumers are not going to like it. Consumers love consistency. It makes them feel a sense of stability and helps them know that at the end of the day, they are getting what they know and enjoy. When you take away that consistency, you take away the tether connecting the consumer to the product. Sure, if they truly care about the product, they will most likely stick with it and try to adapt, but after a while, it just doesn't feel the same. Let's say they move on from the product, looking for something to fill the hole left by the absence of the core product. That means less relevance, which leads to less money. And we all know how much ᴂᴜ loves money, right? We can see this effect starting to happen with its biggest creators, such as Eclipse. Matt, second to only ᴑᴜᴜ in terms of viewership when it comes to YBA, is the biggest creator and critic of the game as a whole, and frequently denounces the game for many of the same reasons I do. With such a big influence and very highly regarded in terms of the knowledge of the game, such negative comments could deeply hurt the reception of the game. And it likely is, showing through the game's player count and overall public opinion on the newest update, June 9th, 2023. Usually with these updates, you'd think the game's player count would skyrocket, considering that's exactly what would usually happen at least a few months ago. This time was different, however, as YBA's player count only managed to break the average of 5 to 10k daily, with a disappointing around 25,000 average the day of. People didn't care. I didn't even care, and I used to love this game. If you can make the most die-hard fans completely indifferent to this, then you are truly doing something wrong. And that is the biggest issue with the game mechanically. ᴂᴜ has taken a dog, given it cat ears, and labeled it a tiger. And the dog simply just isn't a tiger. You can paint a dog to look like a tiger, you can try and make it act like a tiger, but it isn't. It's ingenuine. People don't like things that try to be something that it isn't, and whatever's being peddled right now isn't YBA. It's like if AUT and World of Stance had a freakish abomination of a child. It's no longer the black sheep. So to sum this section up, YBA must return back to its roots in order to survive. It's like the meme goes, reject modernity, embrace tradition. Now let's move on to the community changes, such as what he should do with the community, what the community needs to do, what the moderation team needs to do, etc. Now this part will have 4 sections to it. I know, sounds like a lot, but I promise we're almost done here. I don't want to take up that much of your guys' time. Now, this solution isn't that simple, but I'll try to make this go as smoothly as I can. Starting off with number 1, defund the moderation team. Without any exaggeration, the moderation team of YBA is the worst part of the community, especially Paragon, which is why we need to alleviate their power in regards to their decisions on how the game should be balanced and their abilities to just ban whoever they want at will. There are several cases of moderators abusing their power, and they're not a rare occurrence. Here's a false ban that occurred not even a month ago, as of July 11th, 2023, in regards to Paragon being wiped and deepwoken and him subsequently banning them for quote-unquote doxing. Speaking of Paragon, let's talk about him for a second. Being the community manager, you could say he's a pretty important figure within the community, despite him doing basically nothing and getting paid for it. If you would like more information on how Paragon abuses his power in his just city in general, here's an exposed series I've made and some evidence that I've found. They'll be linked in the description, or they'll be in that corner with the eye. Setting all my personal bias aside for this one, Paragon is a pretty shit CM, and honestly, the entire concept of having a CM for YBA is completely inane. Moderation teams are obviously a necessity for such a huge game, but having a separate person who isn't even involved with the development process managing the entire community just doesn't make any sense. It adds a barrier between the community and the main developer, who should be connected with the community. If anything, ᴂᴜ should be managing the community, not having Paragon be an unreliable telephone for him. Paragon is to ᴂᴜ as the serpent is to Eve. I think it's fair to say that almost every single moderator with any semblance of respect in the community does not actively play the game. And if they do, they're not in the rat race with the rest of us. Hell, Paragon's recently been going into public servers with his own personal mod spec and fighting regular players while taunting them. This guy can do 45 damage per M1, but he gets to say what's balanced and what isn't. Clearly none of these people have any idea what they're talking about, so why are we listening to them? I'm not saying they don't have any good ideas here and there, but balancing decisions should be left to the community. Give moderators less privileges and less leverage to get what they want out of the game. They are simply enforcers, nothing else. Until they can actively contribute to the game, be partial and fair with their enforcement of the rules, and quell their narcissism, they don't deserve any power when it comes to game changes. I'm sorry if that's an unfair generalization, but Paragon has no issue with labeling the entire comp community and subsequent gangs as degenerate, racist, homophobes, etc. Literally telling Gage he doesn't have an opinion because he's a comp player, so it's only fair. Speaking of giving the community more power, let's move on to my next proposal. Number 2. Set up a team of testers, preferably those with influence in the community and are invested in the competitive scene. This has been brought up more times than I can count, but it still rings true. Please, ᴂᴅ, for the love of God, get real testers. Stop getting a random group of people / yourself to test these reworks and new stand specs, because you're not capable of doing so. I'd say testing them yourself would be a plausible idea if you actually played your own game, but you don't. Neither does anybody on your dev team. Testers provide a great opportunity for further innovation and ideas beyond what the developers can come up with, and even catch separate issues that not even the devs noticed. Plus, the added benefit of the testers being creators would generate even more hype surrounding it. If your main concern is with leaks, then just enforce the perm ban rule for leaking assets, since getting banned in this game is the equivalent of going bankrupt and losing both your wife and child in a truck crash for most people, apparently. One AAA game company that uses this method of testing is Behavior Interactive, known for creating Dead by Daylight. They've created a program where its creators serve as testers and are given early access to certain features for, obviously, testing purposes. They also use this for the community itself with the public testing build. Probably not the greatest example, considering Behavior is almost as incompetent as ᴂᴅ, but again, this is a great idea on paper. It just takes good execution, and I don't see why ᴂᴅ couldn't implement this in some way. You don't even have to pay them anything. If they're truly passionate about the game, they'll gladly do it for free. Let them decide which stands deserve reworks, what changes should be made, and what should be nerfed, etc. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that ᴂᴅ shouldn't be allowed to control what's added at all, because it is his game. I'm just saying it would be in his best interest to cater more to the community. I mean, we're essentially the entirety of his paycheck, so why shouldn't he? Let's tie back into what I was saying about the community earlier. Number 3, connect with your community. I'm not talking about social media or whatever, I'm talking about genuinely talking with the community. Like I've said with the testers, listen to your community. I understand the issue with the toxicity, and I understand why you would be hesitant to open up to the community again. I think most people would feel the same way. But at the end of the day, these are children. Children who likely have no understanding of development and have been accustomed towards being entitled to getting whatever they want. And you shouldn't care for that demographic of the game. Those who are older and are genuinely critiquing your game are the only people worth appealing to. Your biggest critics are your biggest fans, even if it is solely negative. We're negative because we like the game, and we'd like to see it change and develop in a way that's still fun and enjoyable. Not because we have nostalgia goggles glued onto our head, but because that is the game that we know, enjoy, and yearn for. The fluidity of the combat that can only be established through those older abilities, which objectively made the game play smoother than this new garbage. And with that being said, we ourselves also have to make a change when it comes to these updates. Number 4. Stop giving ᴂᴅ leniency when it comes to shit updates. Every time the community slightly praises ᴂᴅ for churning out one of these shitty rework updates that do absolutely nothing to improve the game, he takes advantage of it and uses it to fall back on as a reason to continue making these kinds of updates. It has to stop. We cannot hold this game to lower standards simply because of how long it takes to come out. Don't be fooled by the flashy gimmicks or Paragon's false promises of how he's going to make the game better, because he simply isn't. We can't trust them at all anymore. Hell, he made a video with the notion of disproving Eclipse, but he agreed with 90% of it. Then he backpedals and says the game is fine? We can't be this fucking blind, man. This guy fucking sucks. And ᴂᴅ sucks for listening to him. So don't give him credit or defend ᴂᴅ because he doesn't want the game to be overpowered, yet still implements it and even further contributes to it during development. We do not dislike the nerfs because we are entitled to OP specs. You have no idea what you want, yet you feel that you represent the entire community's beliefs. If you genuinely think this game is in good hands and that it's safe to trust these people without getting on their asses for the mistakes they make during development, which usually spans for months, then I have no idea how else to persuade you at this point. Now, some other things I should probably add on before I move on to the conclusion. When I talk reworks, I'm not saying all of them are bad, okay? White Albums was definitely much needed, however, I think they went too far with it. Some of these stands genuinely do need the rework, some of them don't need it, such as Scary Monsters. Please tell me, who wanted the Scary Monsters rework? Who wanted the boxing rework? Who wanted the Hamon rework? Let me tell you this, nobody. Now let's move on to the conclusion. Alright, so initially I planned for this document to be longer, but when it really comes down to it, it's not that deep. It's just a game at the end of the day, and none of this matters whatsoever. I suspect nothing will come from this document, and the game will continue to be diminished by Paragon and Uzu's incompetence. So why did I make this document? Boredom, but that in of itself is a boring answer, so for the sole purpose of calling these people out on their bullshit. Nothing annoys me more than an unbridled ego and a liar to boot. These people will claim to change over and over again while actively never acting on said statements. So the changes need not be made with the game solely, more so the people behind it. But given what we've been told and what has actually happened, I doubt that will ever come. Like I said in the beginning, if you like this game as it is right now, that is completely fine. This document is not meant to tell you what to like. I disagree with how the game is right now, and a lot of other people feel the same. I think it's fair to say that most of the community would agree with me and Eclipse's views on the game as of now, and despite what Paragon will tell you, the game is definitely not headed in a good direction. Despite that, this is still my opinion. I cannot stress that enough to you. It is my opinion. This is not meant to be taken as objective fact. After reading this, I hope you can mostly agree with me and understand my views. If you made it this far, thank you for reading. And if you're also watching the video accompanying the release of this, thank you for watching. That's the end of the manifesto, so just for the sake of the video, I'm going to put in my closing statements. I know this wasn't exactly the most humorous thing you could watch from my channel, but I just wanted to make this a little bit more serious and a little bit more informative. I think critiquing is fun, and when I do genuinely critique things, it is the best part. Shit talk is funny, but that's not critiquing, that's just pointless banter, and it's solely meant for laughs. This I want to be actually substantial. I also talked a lot about the current state that the game is in while reacting to Carter's video on it. If you want to see that too, the link is in the description, it'll be in the corner, whatever. My current upload schedule is going to be 2 more YBA related videos, specifically the next one being on Paragon. It will be the part 5, and it will be the conclusion for now. The rest of it will be a secret, cause fuck you. If you liked the video, make sure to like it. If you really liked the video, make sure to subscribe, follow, join all the links in my description. Do the thing that Eclipse says, and see ya.
Maybe they said cringy so that like it's probably like fucking PT scary. Let's click on it.
What? Ketchup, what are you retarded?